Hi, and welcome to our conversation with Dr. Izukanji Sikazwe. Dr. Izukanji Sikazwe is the Chief Executive Officer at CIDRZ for the past 8 years. Today, we have an opportunity to sit down with her and look back at her journey at CIDRZ. Dr. Sikazwe, you are welcome to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Moses. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. To open our conversation, Dr. Sikazwe, could you kindly just tell us what milestones and achievements you are most proud of here at CIDRZ, and which one would you consider your greatest accomplishment?
Okay. I know you started off by saying I've been here as CEO for 8 years, and sometimes it does feel like I just started this journey yesterday. And then when you talk about what milestones am I most proud of or remarkable to me, it's hard to pinpoint on a single one because there's a lot that has happened over the last 8 years. And you have to remember that I've been here since 2013, so in total for 12 years. And a lot of things have been accomplished, a lot of battles won, but also a lot of battles lost. So I think fundamentally what I'm most proud of or want to make special mention to is that just being able to work with a really great team and setting the foundation for this organization as a local institution. So working through the governance system, working through the policies and the procedures and the framework that sets the tone in terms of how this institution runs. Without that, I think the institution or the CIDRZ as you see today would not be there. If you don't have the right governance, you don't have the right policies that give you direction in terms of what you're supposed to be doing, if you don't have the right strategy, then you're essentially lost at sea. So I think some of the key achievements personally that I would like to put out there is being able to have set the tone for the governance, the policies, and also the strategy, being able to have set up that strategy that allows us to be where we are and defining our vision for the team. In terms of most remarkable, it's hard to pinpoint. I think most remarkable would be getting the team that I work with, having the staff complement that I work with that have not been as successful as I am if not for the team. And a lot of people point out to the campus here and the building here, but really this was a vision for a lot of us for a long time, but it's a team that actually brought it together. So my greatest accomplishment is really the people that I've been able to bring and work with to continue to drive the vision of CIDRZ.
Okay, can you share a particular challenging time you faced and what you learned from navigating?
Well, that's putting out the skeletons that we don't want out in the public. I think we always celebrate the good times and things that you want to air out in public, but then the challenging times or what we battled with, what kept us awake at night, we try to keep in the closet. But one thing that stands out is just the COVID period. COVID was most challenging for me on a professional front, but also on a personal front. And it was hard in terms of not really being sure of anything. Our world was turned upside down. We couldn't move or interact and engage with colleagues professionally or personally as we used to. It was hard for us professionally to do the work that we were set up to do. And, we're in the health sector, in the health space. So even direct patient service delivery was challenging because of all the precautions. So it was a hard time for us. And what I learned from that process was just how do you communicate and with your team members? How do you relay accurate information as soon as you get it? How do you allay some of the fears and anxieties that individuals will have, that I had? And who can you lean towards or who can you lean in to help you through that process? And, I had a lot of support and guidance from my peers, both here at the institution and in the broader health sector. So being able to work with colleagues and figure out things because everything was changing constantly and it was unnavigated territory for all of us. So being able to work with others to figure out the best way possible.
Looking back, how has CIDRZ evolved during your time as CEO? And what are some of the most significant changes that you've witnessed?
Yeah, I think I've said this in the past, that the only thing that stays constant is change. We should always be looking to change, because that's a way that helps us to grow and develop and explore new things and learn new things. So with CIDRZ, there's been a lot of transition over the years. The first transition, just when I joined in 2013, was this period of moving from a field office for an international institution to being a local organization. So how do you navigate through that and setting up the systems and the structures? And then for one of the programs that I led, which was funded by the US CDC, was transitioning that program from being one that interacts directly with patients. So my team was responsible for the patient care, so we would see patients on a one-on-one basis, to more of transitioning to offer more technical expertise and capacity building to our colleagues that are working within the Ministry of Health to do the work that we were initially doing. As an institution, also evolving in terms of and growing from a staff complement when I came on as CEO of about 600 individuals to a staff complement that went as high as 1,700 employees. Wow. So there's a lot of change there. So how do you navigate that? Again, from a systems perspective, how do you put in the policies in place to be able to support such a staff complement and the funding that comes with it and the diversity of the different programs that we run?
Okay. Interesting. From 600 to 1,600. That's
it's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. So what aspects of CIDRZ's work and impact are you most passionate about?
Personally, I think I was always passionate from the very beginning, being in the health facilities, taking care of patients. That to me was my first love, even though
you no longer have that time.
I don't have that opportunity. I think it was always a blessing and an honor to be out there in the facilities, providing direct patient care and engaging with patients and their families and building this rapport. I think I always will miss that and remain passionate about it and long to be able to engage that way again. I always get great joy of thinking through a concept in terms of a new intervention, in terms of how you take care of patients or how you get services out there. So working with the research teams, thinking through our research questions, our hypothesis, and then putting those interventions to test and carrying out the research and getting to a stage where you start to see the results and you analyze and determine whether you made a difference or not. And if you did or did not, how then does that inform policy when it comes to provision of health services? So that has always been very exciting to me, and I'm fortunate I still remain in that space. And then just working across different teams, doing different types of work. We do have a team that does basic immunology science and research, which is not my area, but when I sit down with them and I hear them discussing it and what they're working on, that always is interesting, and I'm passionate about hearing about different types of programs or projects that teams are involved in.
Interesting. Let's now talk about your team. I know you are very passionate about teamwork. You always emphasize that. What are some of the unique strengths and qualities of the CIDRZ team that have impressed you the most?
They're very committed. They've been very committed and passionate about their work. A recent example I can give you is this year, as you're all aware, there have been changes in our funding space, in the fiscal space, in terms of some of the policies that one of our largest donors, the US government, has made. And that resulted in our shrinking of some of the programs that we're having and stopping some of the work. But team members directly impacted or employed on those projects that we're stopping or were on a pause still remained very committed to their work and wanted to engage with the clientele or the community that they serve.
Yeah.
So even though they knew that the programs that they're working on are coming to an end as they've known them, or they're changing to be in line with the priorities of the funders, they still remain very committed and continued to show up for work. Even during COVID, the team members that were always assigned to be at facility level remained committed and came into work. And team members from our operations department, for instance, in the finance department, in the facilities department, that had to come in, even though everybody was working remotely, still came in to be able to support the different programs that we've had. So it's been, I've been very impressed and very humbled and very grateful for the commitment that CIDRZ staff exhibit, their hunger for new knowledge, self-improvement. There are individuals that I started working with that came in, for instance, as a data associate, so working to get the data, put it into our data collection tools, but came in with perhaps a diploma or studying for their first degree, but now actually, doing their PhDs, coming to the end of their PhDs. So this hunger for self-learning and self-improvement so that you can really show up to work with the best knowledge that you can come in with has always impressed me.
Okay, quite interesting. What lessons have you learned about leadership, collaboration, or the healthcare landscape in Zambia during your time at CIDRZ?
So I'll talk about leadership in my role here at the institution. I don't have to be the smartest or brightest person in the room. There will always be many, many more intelligent or brighter than me who will have different ideas, different ways of approaching anything. And what I've learned is to take a step back and listen and learn, because there's always something that I can learn from others, and they bring so much resource to me. And it's one of the reasons why we're so successful, or why people look at me and think I'm so successful. I'm successful because of the people that I work with. So as a leader, being able to be okay to step back and allow others to come in and drive those conversations, bring in their thoughts, and also just how to work more collaboratively. You cannot be successful alone as an individual. You have to be able to build this team around you. So how do you work collaboratively? How do you respect different people and their attributes and what they bring to the table, whether it's their qualifications, their skill sets, or the cultural background, being always respectful of that and allowing them to show up as themselves when they come to the table. And leadership is also about communication. How do you communicate very clearly? How do you set out the vision? This is where we're going, and this is where I'd like us all to go. So how do you set that and sell it so that others buy into it, and not just buy into it because it's work, but buy into it with a passion to actually deliver or to help the institution or the team or myself get to that vision that I'm aspiring to, or the goal that I'm aspiring to. So when you look at it from much more broadly outside CIDRZ, essentially the same lessons. How do you take those lessons as you engage with other stakeholders, all working towards a common goal or a common vision?
Now, there's a young professional out there who's watching and trying to hear what a word of advice you'd give for them to grow their career. What message of advice would you give them?
Love what you're doing. I know it, and I say that with the truest intent. It's hard, especially in our economy. I may love art, and then my peers or my parents may tell me there is no livelihood in that. How are you going to make a livelihood? But I think you'd have to think about, this is what I love, and these are the circumstances I find myself. So how do I innovate within those circumstances to be able to do something that earns your living, but that which you're passionate about? Otherwise, it's going to become just a job, and a job is painful. What's going to motivate you to keep waking up each and every morning? The only way you're going to be motivated is because you're passionate about it, you enjoy it, you love it, you find fulfillment. So, find fulfillment in what you're doing, in as much as it's difficult, given, the environment that we're in and the economy that we find ourselves in, that you sometimes find individuals getting into careers just to earn a livelihood.
Yes.
And that's where someone may find themselves, just trying to earn a livelihood. But as you're doing that, are there aspects that you can start to connect with, that you can start to develop a passion or a love for, so that it moves away from just being a job that you have to show up to eat, but something that you can commit to over and over again.
Okay.
And read widely. I read more than I watch anything, even from the time I was very young. I found great joy in books, more than on the screen. Okay. So read widely. I read a lot of fiction before, but as I've grown older, I'm reading less and less fiction. So read widely, engage with others. Like I said, you're not the smartest person in the room. Yeah. There are others smarter than you.
Keep on improving yourself.
So engage with others. They'll have different perspectives, different knowledge. Find good role models. I saw something on social media. I hope I can remember it. It said, here in this country, we're serious about mediocrity, and we're not, I forget the actual saying, but we're serious about mediocrity. And when something is actually critical, we're actually not paying any attention to it. So figure out who your role models are, and what is it that why are you identifying with that person as a role model? Or why are you following somebody on social media? And sometimes I come across things and I look at them, I said, I just wasted 2 seconds or a minute of my life, or it just killed 10 brain cells because what I watched or what I read didn't enrich me in any way. So engage in stuff that can enrich you and not just waste away. Of course, you always have to find some light moments to relax and enjoy, but always try to figure out what can enrich me, what can better me.
What do you believe are some of the biggest opportunities and challenges facing CIDRZ in the years ahead?
Yeah. So when I think about the opportunities, currently the funding landscape is very different from what it was even a few months ago. So the opportunities lie in how do you pivot to different funding mechanisms, and how do we tap into, for instance, the private sector. So we're a health impact organization. We're here to change our trajectory when it comes to public health diseases that impact our health and impact our ability to live our lives to the fullest. So how then do we connect, for instance, with the private sector to be able to still do the science that is needed, that is necessary for this country and the region, but has more private sector engagement? And how do we get more ownership from the private sector, especially the private sector in country and our government, to support science and to let science really drive their policies and their agenda when it comes to health? The other opportunities that I see is with technology. Everything is changing. The way we're collecting data, for instance, is different. The way we're analyzing data, the way we're using big data sets is different. So how do younger people, for instance, look at those opportunities, and how do they drive their careers into pathways that support that can be supported with technology and then changing landscape? So for instance, how do we get more junior scientists to be thinking about AI, and how can AI support some of the work that we're doing? How can it support service delivery? How can it support diagnosis of diseases, for instance? So there's a lot of opportunity, and I worry that CIDRZ, for instance, and the country, not just CIDRZ, but the country doesn't have enough junior and mid-level scientists coming up the pipeline. So how do we support that? And another big challenge is infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure to do some of the science that we need. And if you look at our lab, for instance, even the CIDRZ lab, there's so much infrastructure that we need in there for some of the basic science work that we should be doing, but it's not there. But on top of that, we don't even have the basic scientists to do some of that work. And we don't have the senior scientists to mentor and grow them. So there's a lot of opportunity in terms of different career paths that individuals can go on, and partnerships and collaborations that we can engage in, both locally with academia in country and, like I said, the private sector.
Sadly, Dr. Sikazwe, you are transitioning out of CIDRZ. What will you miss the most about CIDRZ? And do you have any word of advice or encouragement for the team?
I think what I'll miss the most is the people. Without the people, there is no CIDRZ. It's been such a joy to work with everybody here across the different campuses, hubs, districts, and provinces. They are what makes CIDRZ what it is today. So I'll miss that the most. They've given me the freedom to explore, to try new things, to bring up new programs, to lead in different ways. They've really been open to some of my crazy ideas and suggestions. So I'll miss the people the most. They've allowed me to be who I am and to get to where I am today. So that's what I'll miss the most.
What could be your final words?
Final words? It's not goodbye. I still remain engaged and very passionate about what CIDRZ has been able to accomplish and its potential moving forward. So I won't say last words. What I'll say is I look forward to seeing what the institution and the people evolve to and pivot to, and the growth. I see a lot of growth coming for CIDRZ. I'm looking forward to that. And just that everybody puts the best effort forward, you know, even as they transition out of CIDRZ into new positions and new jobs, you know, show up the best way possible, carry the CIDRZ values, our ethos, and, you know, just do the best that you can. But really, I miss the people here. I've had many of them be great friends of mine. I consider them as my family. So I wish everybody well.
Okay. Thank you for your time, Dr. Sikazwe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. I hope you picked 1 or 2 points from the discussion that we had with Dr. Sikazwe. We can only wish her the best in her new role. Thank you.